this is part 2. So if you've gotten this far, congratulations. I had just been working on the highlights, so that's where we left off. You can zoom out and zoom back in just to see how it looks from a distance. I do that a lot. It's like when you're painting on a canvas, you have to back up and look at it, see if it looks right. Same thing in Photoshop. Zoom out every now and then. So now I'm renaming these, and I have merged them all. Merged 2 of them. Now I want to do some even sharper lines in the highlights. So I'm using my pen tool to just draw some lines in. I'm going to put a stroke on these in white. And those are also on the soft light. I think I end up redoing it on a different layer. Yeah. Put it on a different layer and put a soft light and then change the opacity because it was too low of a opacity on the other layer. So I have 2 of these highlight layers going on right now. Eventually I will merge them. On this breast, I'm just going to draw a shape and then fill it. Continue drawing the shape down the ribs and waist and hips. Just like you did with the shading on the right side, you're going to do this on the left. Now if you're going to have more like ruffles or whatever in your outfit, you're going to have to do this more often. The more detail you have, the more times you're going to have to put the shading and the highlights in. Now I'm using the blur tool on it just to soften these little extra highlights out. I'm drawing with the paintbrush now. Same layer. Drawing little highlights on the little ripples in the fabric. Using the blur tool. I'm moving the canvas like that with the space bar. I explained that in my other tutorial where I teach the basics of what you need to know when making this stuff. But if you use a space bar and drag, you can move your canvas around like that. I wasn't happy with the highlights on this particular dress, so I ended up messing around with them a lot. So I even did another layer to kind of blend this from my original to the second one. Now I merged all the highlight layers together. I'm going to put them on soft light and I actually duplicated the layer that I had just merged. I merged all of them together, then I duplicated it. Then I changed the opacity on the top one, and then I think I ended up merging them again. Kind of confusing. Yours doesn't have to be this complex and confusing, but I was having trouble with the highlights in this one. So now I'm looking at the shading again, that second shading one I did. What I'm going to do is, in the middle of the dress here, I'm going to just draw some more lines, some like definition in the fabric, using the pen tool. This is on the outline layer. I'm going to stroke it. Make sure your brush is on 1 pixel. Mine wasn't this time. And you have that, and that's way too dark. So I'm going to soften it up just using the eraser tool. You're going to want to soften up the edges more than anything. I'm going to erase those. And that just gives it a little something extra. Probably didn't need it, but it looks good. When I renamed the highlight layer, just highlight. I went back into the shading layer, that original shading one we did, and I'm making it a little bit darker because it needed to be. Now I'm going to make a group. I'm going to call it Purple Dress. I'm going to click all of these, and if you can click once and then the bottom one, if you hold shift, you can grab them all. And you put them all in that group. And then if you hold Alt on the dress and then drag, you can duplicate the entire group that you just made. So this is how you're going to make versions of your outfit. This is very simple. You open up your group and you can start changing the colors in the color overlay. I'm going to make this dress pink. Go to the shading. You can just use the eyedropper on the dress and then make it darker. This one doesn't have an overlay yet, so I'm just going to give it one. This is the shading in the middle. On this highlight layer, I don't like how it looks with the white on this dress, so I'm going to put a color overlay on it as well. I was playing with the filters a bit to see if I could get it to how I wanted, but it's not really what I wanted. So I did the color overlay. I'm going to make it a brighter pink than the dress. Then am I going to do that? Nope. Okay, then I went and you just change the outline, make it dark, darker than your shading, and there you have a pink dress. And I zoomed out just to see how it looks from a distance. I was messing with the opacity on the shading. I'm going to rename this group Pink Dress. Then hold Alt again and drag, and I got another dress. And you're going to continue to do this. On this dress, I'm going to make it blue. So again, just color overlay, change the colors one by one. Now, lots of people use hue and saturation and they just merge everything and then use the hue and saturation after they duplicate it and just go ahead and change it. But you're not always going to get your desired colors. Like your shading might be a little off or your outline might look a little funky. So to make sure that it's perfect, I recommend just doing this. It's quick. I mean, not as quick as hue and saturation, but it's pretty much the quickest way if you want it to be the right colors every single time. So, outline, and rename it, and you're pretty much done. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, or you can go ahead and go to the Bimbo Bin forums and in the help section ask them there.